posted out in the UK, including 171,829 tests yesterday. 279,856 people have tested positive, and that's an increase of 1,871 cases since yesterday. 7,485 people are in hospital with COVID-19 in the UK, down 16% from 8,921 this time last week. And sadly, of those who tested positive for coronavirus across all settings, 39,728 have now died. That's an increase of 359 fatalities since yesterday, and once again, we are with their families in mourning. Now that the rate of transmission in the UK has fallen significantly from its peak, we need to take steps to manage the flare-ups and stop the virus from re-emerging. I want to update you on the progress we're making on three fronts to prevent a second wave of infections that could overwhelm the NHS. First, we've set up NHS Test and Trace in order to identify, contain and control the virus in the UK, thereby reducing its spread. As we move to the next stage of our fight against coronavirus, we'll be able to replace national lockdowns with individual isolation and, if necessary, local action where there are outbreaks. NHS Test and Trace will be vital to controlling the spread of the virus. It's how we will be able to protect our friends and family from infection and protect our NHS. And it does this by identifying anyone who's been in close contact with someone who's tested positive, asking them to isolate for 14 days in order to avoid unknowingly infecting others. And the system clearly relies on everyone playing their part. So I want to stress again today, we need you to get a test if you have coronavirus symptoms, a high temperature, a new continuous cough, or a loss of taste or smell. There is plenty of capacity, and everyone with symptoms is eligible. Everyone with symptoms. So please order a test from nhs.uk/coronavirus as soon as you develop symptoms. And we need you to isolate yourself if a contact tracer tells you that you have been in contact with someone who's tested positive. NHS Test and Trace started operating a week ago, and already thousands of people are isolating who wouldn't have been doing so before this service was introduced. And they are thereby protecting others and reducing the spread of the virus. So while we're going to all these efforts here in the UK to control the virus, we must also ensure we don't re-import the virus from abroad. So the second action I want to update you on is the introduction of public health measures at the border. Today, the Home Secretary has brought forward the legislation needed to establish the new regime from Monday. And I want to explain the reasons for introducing these measures now. When coronavirus started to spread around the world, first from Wuhan and then from northern Italy and other areas, we introduced enhanced monitoring at the border in an attempt to stop the virus from gaining a foothold in the UK. These measures applied at various different times to arrivals from China, Japan, Iran and Italy, and required people with symptoms travelling from those countries to self-isolate for 14 days. However, once community transmission was widespread within the UK, cases from abroad made up a tiny proportion of the total. At the same time, you'll remember that international travel plummeted as countries around the world went into lockdown. So as a result, measures at the border were halted because they made little difference at the time in our fight against the virus. Now that we're getting the virus under control in the UK, there is a risk that cases from abroad begin once again to make up a greater proportion of overall cases. We therefore need to take steps now to manage that risk of these imported cases triggering a second peak. So just as we're asking people